Oh, right. Let's dive into one of the biggest, oldest, and most mind-bending questions humanity has ever dared to ask. This is a question that's been bouncing around the halls of philosophy for literally thousands of years, and it gets right to the heart of our own existence.
No, really, just think about it for a second. Look around you. Why is any of this here? Why is there a universe packed with stars and galaxies and planets instead of, well, nothing, an endless, empty void? This isn't just some random thought you have late at night. It's the absolute bedrock question of metaphysics, the part of philosophy that tries to figure out the fundamental nature of reality itself.
And you know what? For as long as we've been asking this question, we've been trying to answer it. This whole quest has led to one of the most famous and, honestly, most debated lines of reasoning in all of history. It's called the cosmological argument. And you should know, it's not just one single argument. It's more like a whole family of arguments that all start with the universe we see and try to reason their way back to some kind of ultimate explanation. So let's rewind the clock way back. We're talking about the classical roots of this idea. Thinkers like Plato and Aristotle, and later on Thomas Aquinas, all built this massive case on a really simple, everyday observation about how everything around us seems to work. Okay, the key concept here is something called contingency. It sounds complicated, but it's not. You, for example, are a contingent being. You exist, right? But you didn't have to exist. Your existence totally depends on your parents. The screen you're looking at, the planet we're on, our entire galaxy, they're all contingent. Their existence isn't a given. It depends on a whole chain of other causes and conditions that came before them. So here's how they built the logical case. Step 1. The world is obviously full of these contingent things. Step 2. All these things need a cause to exist. And step 3, this is the big one. You can't have an infinite chain of causes going back forever. Think about it like a line of dominoes. You can't have them falling for infinity with no first domino ever being pushed. It just doesn't work. The chain has to start somewhere. And that leads to this huge conclusion: there must be a first cause, something whose existence doesn't depend on anything else, what philosophers call a necessary being. Now, for centuries, this argument was a philosophical heavyweight. It was incredibly persuasive. But then the Enlightenment came along, and some of the sharpest minds in history started to find some cracks in the foundation, launching critiques that still carry a ton of weight today. So the first major challenger was the legendary skeptical philosopher David Hume. And his argument was brilliant. He basically said, look, if I explain the cause of every single brick that makes up a wall, it makes no sense for you to then turn around and ask, okay, but what's the cause of the wall? As far as Hume was concerned, once you've explained all the parts, you've explained the whole thing. There's nothing left over to explain. Now let's jump forward to the 20th century, where the philosopher Bertrand Russell delivered what a lot of people see as the knockout punch. In a famous debate, he just flat out said that the universe might not need an explanation at all. Maybe we're making a mistake by even looking for a cause of the entire cosmos. Maybe the universe is just the ultimate brute fact. It just is, and that's all there is to it. And this right here, this is the heart of the disagreement. The cosmological argument says the universe as a whole demands a cause. But Russell and Hume are pushing back, saying that's a huge logical leap. Sure, they'd say, you can ask for the cause of a tree or a star, but asking for the cause of the entire set of all things, that's a totally different kind of question. And maybe, just maybe, it's a question that doesn't have an answer.
So for a while, it really seemed like the brute fact objection had kind of won the day. But then, something absolutely amazing happened. The argument made this incredible comeback, not from some old philosophy book, but from the world of 20th century science and cosmology.
This updated version is called the Kalam Cosmological Argument, and it gets its power from a wild idea that ancient thinkers and modern physicists, weirdly enough, both came to agree on, that the universe actually had a beginning. Just look at how clean and powerful this thing is. It completely sidesteps that whole messy debate about contingency and infinite chains of causes. Instead, it just focuses on one thing: a beginning in time. The first premise feels super intuitive, right? Things don't just pop into being out of nowhere for no reason. The conclusion follows logically. So you can see the entire argument really hangs on that second premise. Did the universe actually begin to exist? And this is where modern science walks onto the stage. The scientific evidence for the Big Bang Theory is overwhelming. It strongly suggests that our universe, all of space, all of time, all matter and energy, just burst into being from this unbelievably hot, dense point about 13.8 billion years ago. So, if the Big Bang is the beginning of time itself,
then yeah, it sure looks like the universe began to exist. But the argument isn't just leaning on physics. There's also this really cool philosophical case against the idea of an eternal past. It basically says that a real, actual infinity just leads to paradoxes that make no sense. For example, imagine a library with an infinite number of books. You could take out all of the infinitely many odd-numbered books, and you would still have an infinite number of even-numbered books left. The total number of books wouldn't have changed at all. It's these kinds of logical absurdities, the argument says, that prove an actually infinite number of past events is impossible. And if that's true, the past has to be finite, which means the universe must have had a beginning. So, case closed, right? The argument is back and stronger than ever? Well, not so fast. Just as this new version of the argument found new life, it also ran into some new and really powerful challenges, pushing this whole debate right to the cutting edge of modern physics. The biggest challenge today actually attacks the Kalam argument's very first premise. In the super weird world of quantum mechanics, we see things like virtual particles that seem to just pop into existence out of the quantum vacuum, which is the lowest energy state of empty space, and they do it seemingly without any direct cause. So the question becomes, if events can happen without a cause on the tiny subatomic level, who's to say the entire universe couldn't be the ultimate uncaused quantum event? So this leaves us with this deep, profound tension. On the one hand, our basic intuition about cause and effect, and the evidence for the Big Bang all point to a beginning that needs some kind of cause. But on the other hand, we have these powerful philosophical objections and the strange rules of quantum physics that hint that maybe, just maybe, the universe doesn't need a cause at all. It's really a clash between our deep-seated need for explanations and the wild possibility that the cosmos just is. And that brings us right back to where we started. After a 2,500-year journey through philosophy and physics, the question is still there, waiting for each of us to think about. Is the existence of everything we see just the ultimate, unexplained brute fact? Or is the universe itself a kind of clue, pointing towards an explanation that lies beyond what we can see? The debate, you can be sure, is far from over.